first saying that Associated Students is in fact a department of the campus of UCSB. And as such is all of our staff are career employees, and all of you all are also participate in a nonprofit. And a nonprofit, I don't know if many of you all have that experience in nonprofits, but you do now. And as you all know, as decision makers for senators and for chairs, entities, all of you all participate in making decisions on behalf of the association on a daily basis. And so I wanted to share a number of things with you all, in particular the fact that you are a student government. That is, those powers or those responsibilities are delegated from the Board of Regents to you and to this department to represent the undergraduate student body. So as such, that term that I use in my presentation that you are unable to view at the moment is a term that is not, it's not my own term. It's a term that was developed over 40, 50 years ago. The shared governance of a public university is a trust. And you are part of that trust. As those of you who have been elected know that there's a very specific process to become elected. So there is also a process for being appointed into a variety of positions throughout Associated Students. And so that's what brings us together today, to give you like the resources that may in fact make all the difference in your experience at Associated Students. I can't really see you all, so I don't know how many of you all have questions or how many of you all have a specific area you'd like me to cover. What I had prepared to share with you all was the basic structure of how Associated Students works and how the structure of that department, of your department, works in conjunction with the university administration and then with the system-wide administration of the Office of the President, all the way up to the President's Office and the Board of Regents. So let me begin by first giving you all an opportunity to raise a hand if you have a specific question that you'd like me to share an answer with, or try my hand at answering a question. So if you want to use your function, your reaction, I'd appreciate that. I'll call on you, or I'll invite you to unmute your mic. Anybody have a question? No? Okay, hearing and seeing none, I'll move forward with let me give you a general description of an introduction to my office. So I serve as your executive director, which means that I'm supervised by two people. The first is the Vice Chancellor for Student Affairs, and the second is the AS President. And as such, I have been in this position since 2007. Prior to that, I came to this campus to complete my degree in political science, my PhD, which I hold from the Department of Political Science of the same campus. In between there, I taught in Minnesota and I taught in Colorado, and then I came back and I worked for the Academic Senate at the UCSB campus, and I've also now worked for Associated Students. In between those appointments, administrative appointments, I've served as a lecturer. So that's who I am. And my department, your department, tends to be the kind of department that most people are unclear about, because there is no other department like this, where students make decisions for yourselves. You fund the entire department's opportunities as well as the services, and we take in income from that. Outside of those two areas, there is no other contributors to the department funds. As you'll see in the link that you've all shared, there is a strategic plan that students have put together for the upcoming years. And in the first few pages of that document, you'll find AS organizational structure. So you can follow along with what I'm sharing with you all. As most governments, there is a separation of powers. And the separation of powers in this department includes an executive branch, a legislative branch, a judicial branch, and AS entities and units that are broken up into the areas of advocacy, business enterprises, events and media, and philanthropy. As you'll notice, if you take a look and follow along with the strategic plan, and also connect up with your website for Associated Students, we have created a number of opportunities on our website that actually captures both what I'm sharing with you now verbally, what is written in the strategic plan, as well as the basic infrastructure of the entire department is made public through our website. And if you will follow along that on our website, you are able to go to it at any point in time to find any bit of information. Throughout the last year, we've actually elaborated, or our website development team has elaborated quite extensively on our homepage, because we were in a state of crisis the past 18 months, the likes of which none of us had ever prepared for or knew was coming. So if you actually go to asucsb.edu, and you will see and find that there's a navigation bar at the top right, and there's an about tab that you can take a look at. If you press on that, there is a tab that opens up that says history. Can everyone see that? Can I get a thumbs up? Can I get more than 2 thumbs up? Oh, I got 3. Okay, I'm getting more and more. So the link is asucsb.edu. And the first task is to go to as.ucsb.edu. The next task is to find the navigation bar on the top right, and then click on that, and then click on About. Does everybody see that? Yes? Okay. So if you click on that, what is it? What's the title? All right. So Holly, can you see if you could share screen from that page? And I can share with all of our colleagues. So history is a funny thing. Everyone has our own version of how we got to this morning. That is basically a unique experience to myself, and for each of you, your history is your story. Additionally, there is this thing that's called history, and where it comes to student government, and where it comes to student movements, like we have experienced on this campus, it is very rare. In fact, almost impossible to capture all that's occurring all at one time, that actually moves the voices of students to create departments, to create disciplines, to change the course of history, quite literally. And in this department, what we developed was something called the Living History Project. Can you click on that, Miss Holly, please? So under here, what you'll see are the Living History Project. It's a digital history project that actually captures the voices of student movement. And what that means is that while it may be impossible to capture everything that happens on a daily basis on this campus, what we have worked to do and through this department have created with students is quite unique. And the Living History Project teaches us about our own history, about your own history as a student. And so when you go to this page, what you'll see is the product of now almost 10 years of efforts to capture as much as possible of that student voice. And it traces the origins of student organizations, including your own, that move the voice of history to hear the needs and leadership of students' voices. And if you could scroll down, yeah, there's any number, access any of the pages you would like. What there is an entity, AS entity now, that has taken up the work that was started by staff, Mahader Tesfaye, and now it expands on a daily basis with the work of the Living History program or project. And actually it's its own entity now. Holly, do you want to share a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So the advisor for the Living History Project is another career staff person, Leah Bartos. You may know her as the journalism advisor also. She works with The Bottom Line. Uh, so uh, LHP, as we call it, the Living History Project, was the research and the projects and the articles that were put together for at least the last few years that I've been with Associated Students had primarily been done by students and overseen by staff. But in an effort to expand the accessibility for researchers, the members of the Living History Project, along with some senators, voted to make the Living History Project a BCU. So now their researchers are paid honoraria, which is different than the salary that they were making before, but now they've been able to expand their the amount of researchers that they can take on. They can have folks take on specific topics. So a lot of the research is self-led. So often they will get a researcher that comes in and they're really excited about like one particular area or one particular topic on campus. And so they can kind of make that their focus for the year. And so they put together these research briefs, I guess you could call them, research packets. And you can see like here on this timeline, there are students that go through and input these captions. They find, they have a great relationship with the library, as Maricela mentioned, so they will go through special collections at the libraries and find these photos and these newspaper articles, and they will disseminate them into this one piece or this piece of a timeline. And so they will track through, right? This one can be about like student worker rights. And so they'll find different articles pertaining to that umbrella topic and kind of plug it in so we can then see from the span of this one starts February 1st, 1984. But then you can see it was last edited July 30th, 2020 by Francis Wu, who is the chair of LHP or was last year. And you can kind of see here on the bar, if we scroll all the way down, you can reply to it. But then you can see that Francis did an interview with this person. They've included the link to the audio. And so they really, these student researchers make an effort to, like as the name really mentions, like all different kinds of collected history. So it doesn't have to be newspaper articles or photos. They do interviews, they find video clips, audio clips, all sorts of things, and they organize it by these topics. If you go through some other parts of the website under here, you can see like everything from this decade. And so there's lots of different information here on the website that is primarily researched and accumulated and disseminated by the student researchers of the LHP.
Thank you. And you'll also see, if you could go back to the home site, they actually invite you all to participate and or become part of their executive board. I'm focusing on this element. If you could come back to the home page of our website, Holly, for me, please. And I'd like us to go to the staff organizational tree. And I'm focusing on the living, or we're focusing on the Living History Project because you are making history on a daily basis when you're part of Associated Students, and when you are working on behalf and for students, as you do in all of your entities. And so what this means for you is that on a daily basis, whether you want to be on the side of capturing those data points and sharing them with your successors, just generations and generations of students. We've created a methodology by which you can do that. Or you can be on the side of making history, as you are this morning, getting up Monday morning to gain interest and information on the resources and skills that you can engage through associated students. So the Living History Project has a lot of access points. You'll either be contributing your data to the Living History Project by reaching out to them. You might be creating those data points with them as being part of them. And either way, you're making history on a daily basis. The next screen that we're showing, thank you very much, Holly, for that. What we're showing here is your AS career staff for 2021. And if you scroll down at the very bottom, please keep going past the surf. We have 3 units where we organize ourselves to be in collaboration and support for you. The 3 units are Student Development and Leadership Unit, the Student Engagement Businesses and Services Unit, and the Student Technical Assistance and Internal Operations Unit. The efforts of your career staff are underpinned really by your efforts. And a former AS staff member, now director of the Educational Opportunity Program, Aaron Jones, used to talk about associated students as 2 halves of one brain, with staff being career staff being one half and the other half being student leadership. And I always like that. I try to attribute it accurately to him. He had a larger context to that. But for my context, he is my context. The issue in and of itself is that many of us have grown up on the UCSB campus as undergrads or graduate students. And this is where we want to be. This is where we choose to be. And we offer our expertise to you and with you to move forward together. So on our efforts on our website, if you don't mind, Holly, going back to our homepage of our website, you'll see a great deal of work accomplished over the last year has been centralized on the lower half of our pages, where we have easy access to tabs, because as you can imagine, our processes kept changing all year long, and they will continue to change as we progress through this academic year. And so you will see part history and partly it's updated up to the moment in terms of how to access your accounts, how to become part of the department in a number of ways. If you don't mind scrolling a little bit further down, Holly, there are your services, opportunities, quick links, your governing documents. A very important feature is, of course, jobs, and Associated Students is a job creator for students, and students are employed throughout the department. Through the pandemic, we've been very fortunate, and I want to make sure to mention that we have kept essential services going throughout the year, including your radio station, a garden, AS administration, the food bank, and any number of activities in person throughout the pandemic. And now we have an opportunity to come back and transition back to campus. And so that's an opportunity, and also reflected on your website, because we are actually located in 7 different locations on the UCSB campus, including the other essential service. I'm sorry, I don't believe I mentioned recycling. Throughout the pandemic, these essential services have continued to work throughout and continue to provide for students, by students and by staff, to make sure that the students that have been in person received the support that they needed through these essential services. Just as an example, any number of lessons learned, as well as as well as new ways to provide these services will continue to evolve as we go through the academic year. If, as you can see, we have a little mapache kind of floating in some water. That's our unofficial mascot, and there are a number of stickers that have their face. If you scroll a little further down, you'll see a way to contact us with questions, as well as our presence online through your Facebook account, a Twitter account, and Instagram. So we try to centralize all this on your website and keep it as up to date as you can help us provide, because you're out there. And then finally, as you'll see at the bottom of this page, we circulate a great deal of opportunities for funding on the UCSB campus, and you can apply, or you can invite folks outside of associate students to apply for funding for any number of programming and events as the year gets going. And finally, you'll see at the very bottom an imprimatur honoring the fact that we are entirely funded by student fees, and those are our phone numbers to reach us, and my own email and phone number I'll put in the chat box as we conclude this session. So that's basically our AS structure. If you wouldn't mind going to our I think governing documents section. Let's see. Okay, yeah. So the next session is going to go through governing documents and so on. You'll see on this page, this is reflective of our structure in history and associate students, which is that we have captured, or our web development team has captured our legal code through time, and a substantial number of our financial policies and procedures. And Holly will be presenting that next. I just want to give you that heads up. I'm wondering if you could go back to the government page real quick. Let's see. Just that, yeah, and see if there's just at that tab, you'll see there's an executive, legislative, judicial branch, and these are represented on these website pages. Your entities are also part of the department. Those are all listed here. If there are any updates, or as updates come about, please make sure to send those along. I think that the only other thing I wanted to show you, or make sure that I showed you all, is the AS Marketplace. And this was a feature that was developed. Those are your officers, the executive officers. And the AS Marketplace is an online resource. During the pandemic, this is one of the gains of the pandemic, which is that we had to develop a way to communicate and distribute items that were of import, of need, and that we could develop online. So we developed our a merchandise readers, and AS Food Bank has a location here. As you get going, there will be, and if you're part of entities that are distributing things, this is a potential place to distribute things via the mail. There's of course readers that can be purchased, and you'll see on the lower right, you'll see the bottom line, published a yearbook that is available as well. So part of what we track, or what we try our best to do, is to reflect as much as we can on an online presence. So that really helped us during the pandemic, and it helped you, that we had been investing in a robust website for a very long time. And I'm certain there are lots of things that need updating. As you go through every single link, if you wouldn't mind taking us back to the homepage, as you go through through the entire website, you'll see that there are things that you'll want to update. There are perhaps websites that you want, web pages that you want to add to our website. That is completely acceptable. Oh, do you want to go down to AS Answers and acronym list? We have a little engine that where a search knowledge base is shared. So a question is asked and answered, and then it's archived here for all of us to share. So if you have, as you develop question, or as people ask you questions, you can generate the archive of the question and the archive of the response, and it becomes cached here forever. And so that's a nice feature. And going back to the acronyms list, you'll see and learn that there are lots and lots of things that we create acronyms over in Associated Students, and it can, of course, become very confused or confusing. And so a acronyms page was developed, and so that is captured on this web page as well. I don't think I've ever finished an introduction with the acronyms page, but I will today. That concludes my presentation so far. And if you all have any questions, I invite you to raise your hand.